cinched tight.
All right, starting the stream, starting the recording. Hey everyone. Let me go ahead and put the stream on pause there. Hey everyone, this is episode 460 of the OotiniCast, being recorded on the 14th of March 2023. Kitty and I are here, and we are going to start the official podcast here in just a sec. This is the raw version of the show that gets recorded and put out live, and then we take the this recording, it goes out on YouTube raw as well as a recording afterwards, but also we then clean things up a bit and put it out as a podcast on the next day. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and I'll announce that we're live. Oops, looks like I need to get on the right account. And yeah, so live.
Oh boy, look at him.
Nexu's back there. Aw, he's so cute. He really is one of the most handsome cats.
He's such a character, you know, that we're like, we'd make fun of him like, oh, he's not even a cat. What is he? You know, blah, blah, blah. So we've started calling him the trash rabbit.
Oh, that's funny.
Because he has, when he runs, he looks just like a rabbit.
Right.
He has that no tail, little poof there, and his back feet are all...
Actually, I have to do one more thing. I was working on my show notes so hard, I forgot that I actually need to get one more thing in here. Gosh darn it.
Not the crazy look.
All right, this is going to be the short version of this, but that's all right. This is why this is the raw version and why we don't try to make this the official podcast.
Right. At least,
there's a reason we do it this way.
At least Chill's not choking. We got that going for us.
We've got that. We got it going. Yeah,
as long as Chill's not choking, I think we can give it a thumbs
we're all
up.
right.
Right. We got Audacity running. Chill's not choking. We're good. Hey, babe, do you want to... You can kick the trash rabbit off the chair. Okay. I was just telling Chill about... we call him a trash rabbit.
All right, so that's good.
She calls him a garbage bunny.
Aw, yes. Well, that's funny with the little tail thing. With the tail thing... the no tail or almost no tail thing. It does add to his rabbity look for sure.
It's called the nub.
The nub. That's the official name.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you jingle the nub, it gives you good RNG luck. So we've got a bunch of packs.
That's funny.
So whenever I open a pack, I run over and jingle the nub.
Jingle the nub.
Good luck.
Jingle nub, jingle all the way. That's cute. All right. So if are you still set? Are you ready to do?
I'm ready.
All right, of course. I figured you were, but I'm just...
Hey, detox.
All right. So it's funny like how time gets away from you and you forget things that you should not forget. It's all good though. I'm ready to go now too. So let me just get my head on straight. Do my little I always do this thing. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that is confusing peace with terror. This is episode 460, being recorded on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023. I'm your host, Chill. With me is my co-host, KittyKissz. Hey, Kitty.
Hey, Chill.
What you been up to since the last show?
Well,
we're both laughing because we see
guest here for people that are live.
Nexu's having a lot of fun,
aka the trash rabbit. He's hanging out with us today. Let's see. I finished my Trooper story. I ran all the way through.
Nice.
Start to finish on Trooper, and
all the way through Runic.
Everything, yeah, Runic
nice.
And everything.
Nice.
And it's the first character that I've ever gone through everything as a non-Force user.
Wow.
And
how'd you like that?
I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I kind of got my panties in a bunch because I wasn't into the whole, I'm not a a force sensitive character, and then you go through the chapters.
In Copy Cotet, right? It really does feel different if you're not if you're trooper or whatever. Mm-hmm.
However, if you follow the story, you do get Valkorian's power, and you are a
they work pretty hard.
Force user kind
exactly.
of.
They work pretty hard to make it work, and really post that it's either. Well, there's that little bit that is, again, Valkorian orientated, but the rest of the story doesn't feel so necessary for you to be like a Force user, if you're following the Mandalorians or, whatever.
Right. And but now I'm okay with it. I think it's it's a temporary thing. It's fun. However, I thought of a great idea, BioWare. I know you're listening. How about you unlock the ability to have your secondary combat class a force sensitive class after the chapters? So you get Valkorian's power, and maybe because you haven't chosen another a secondary combat class, maybe that unlocks the ability. You can
be a sage or a sorcerer.
A force user, right.
Interesting.
For your secondary class. It would make sense for the story.
Yeah.
It would be a really, really cool way for your character to have an interesting arc.
Right.
Because,
because you go from being a smuggler to like a Jedi Knight or whatever.
Exactly. Or a Sith, or maybe you start off as
That's cool.
A good trooper, and you're corrupted by Valkorian, and now you're,
now you're an assassin.
You're corrupted by the Force, and now you're an assassin.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool.
That would be cool.
I don't know if there's some sort of mechanical or code reason why that's not possible.
Right. It's always possible. You'd think it might be plausible, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a really, really cool way to introduce your character's ability to unlock the Force, like the Force awakens in them. And,
right, exactly.
And then you can continue on as a Force user, which would be really cool. I know that there's, I could see some people saying that there's a potential like, oh, you didn't have any training or anything like that. But you know what? Without the trainers anymore, that kind of doesn't need to be a thing. I think. But so there you go, BioWare. There's an idea.
That's a cool idea.
If you really want to push the limits, have it unlock a third combat class, and that's the Force user class.
Right.
So, just an idea.
That would be cool.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
So I finished that trooper story. I had a lot of fun with it. I started. It was an arsenal, and I started off as an arsenal, and then because you got to choose your second combat class as
at some point
that has a stealther. So I chose, because I was watching a lot of the Bad Batch, and Hunter has the knife. I ended up doing the what the hell?
The agent.
The agent.
Yeah.
And that was so fun that I didn't play Arsenal the rest of the time. I ended up just playing agent for the rest of the time. So
just operative all the way through. I mean, actually, you mean operative because you're talking stealth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was into the second chapter. As soon as we got into chapter 3 of the vanilla storyline, I didn't touch Arsenal again.
That's funny. You're doing the backstab or like the dot spec, the burst one.
The burst one, and then I set it up to be really good for AOE DPS. So it was so fun.
Slash
and
your way
every
through.
time I had that knife out, I felt like, oh, that's how Hunter looks, when he's fighting and stuff. And
that's cool.
I loved it. It was super fun. So that was really, really fun. And a while back, I started a new character. You remember, you got me in the guild. Her name is what is it? Wretch Kitty, because she's a wretched person.
Oh, okay.
and she was level 35 before I started the vanilla story.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I like having all my abilities and stuff, and I just like to see if I can do it, like how high I can go. And I was kind of thinking about getting to level 50 before starting.
Wow, so you don't have a ship or
line.
anything.
Yeah, you don't have a ship, but you can still get around, because once you level, the higher level you are, the more of the dailies unlock.
Oh, I see. So you use those.
You go to fleet and use the daily QT transfer to go over to other planets.
To different places. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I was wondering about that, because I mean the other option would be like signing up for flashpoints or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, you could sign up for flashpoints and all that stuff too. But yeah, I think it'd be really fun. And there's I know when I start off, people are going, "Wait a minute, what? You're on Korriban and you're level 35? How do you do that?" So it might be kind of fun to do like a stream on how to how to do it. It takes a long time to do, because you can only go so far on a character when you don't have a lot of access to a lot of the different maps and stuff like that. But
right.
I think it's really fun.
And it doesn't make sense to go much past 50, because at that point you're not doing the class story, and you're just doing you're doing McCabe and Ilum and stuff, and I guess there's some dailies there too, but I'm not sure you can actually get there. Yeah.
You can get pretty far on 50, because, well, I'm not sure about that. They have those quick travel places once you get to certain levels on fleet next to the character ship hangars. There's that one box there that can get you anywhere in the galaxy.
Okay.
There's little tricks and stuff you can use to get around. You can get in a group with someone and have them pull you to wherever.
Right.
It's fun.
If they're in the guild and stuff, that makes sense.
In my head canon too, I like to pretend that they go off on their own and explore the galaxy a little bit.
That's
before
cool.
they start the mission and stuff. So the character is a Jug assassin, and I'm doing the Inquisitor storyline.
Okay.
Because I love that storyline.
That is a fun storyline.
Spoiler alert. Warning. When Zash goes into the Dashad and is talking through the Dashad with that voice, it never gets old for me. I always think it's so funny. And
such
the fact
raw, untamed power.
Yeah, and the fact that she just kind of goes, "Well, I'm screwed. I'm just going to go with it." She doesn't attack you or anything. They're just like, "I'm screwed. You beat me. Okay, whatever." But I think that's
right.
Super fun. Super funny.
And she seems to be partly tied by Kim Val's own connection to you. Like, she can't really attack you because Kim Val can't really attack you.
Right.
And she kind of realizes that that's part of it, too.
But I just love that she gives up.
Yeah.
And she starts helping you.
Right.
Which is really funny.
Right, exactly. Because I think she sees you as the only real chance she has to sort of maybe get out of this.
Exactly. And there are different things that you can do at the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but you have a choice at the end, which is kind of fun. Let's see. Like I said before, Kitty and I have been watching The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch.
They are fun.
Really fun.
Yeah.
Today is our rewatch day. So it comes out on Wednesdays. We watch it together on Wednesday while we eat dinner. And then on the next Tuesday,
you refresh.
We watch the previous episode to refresh so that we can go into the next day all ready to go, knowing what's up. Plus, Kitty fell asleep during Bad Batch last week.
That's even more reason to in this case. But yeah, that's interesting.
Give us another excuse, right?
Yeah. No, I hadn't thought to do that, but it makes some sense.
My heart. That's what you could do, if you and the wifey you could pretend like you fall asleep and you're like, "Oh, we have to watch it again, babe. I fell asleep at the end." All right, and this is big news in the video game world as far as I go.
Okay.
I downloaded WoW.
Oh, okay.
I played WoW once for about 4 hours. I don't know how many years ago. Hated it because I don't like fantasy.
Oh, okay.
However, Kitty Treats is a very, very experienced WoW player. She knows all the ropes and all that. And myself, I am an experienced Star Wars player. So when we stream together, or when we first started streaming together, I would kind of show her around Star Wars.
Right.
And show her the ins and outs and stuff like that. Well, we're going to flip the script and have her screen on and me following her around learning about WoW.
Oh, okay. So
just
it's like
kind
her
of break
stream.
it up a little bit. And I guess the Dragonflight is pretty cool. And
yeah,
I think it'd be fun because, you know, I think she's kind of gone back into WoW a little bit. So I'm looking forward to doing a different game. I have been so married to SWTOR for so long, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to our plays together. It's going to be fun.
Very good.
You played WoW, right?
Oh yeah, that's where Tio and I met. Was I was working nights, and so I actually joined the Australian server because that was the only time that people were playing at the same time I was, and and he was in the guild for a particular WoW related podcast, and so and that's kind of where I caught the bug for podcasting by he was sending in doing some things with them, and I sent in a couple of little audio things for them as well, and
nice.
Yep, that
well,
was
cool.
That was I started off. I played WoW for years, and for me, the height was sort of like the Lich King expansion, and the one after that was almost as good. And then for me, it was a big drop down for Pandaria. I didn't really like that one.
You didn't dig it?
And also that's around when SWTOR started anyway. So for a while, I think Tio and I both were trying to play both games, but it just got to be too much, and also we just weren't enjoying the direction WoW was taking at that time. Yeah. And who knows, maybe they would have turned in a direction I would have liked more, or maybe not. I don't know, but I haven't been back to it since then. But yeah, it was a heck of a game back in the day. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to dinking around in it. I watch Kitty play, and we're gonna start I don't know what the species is called, the foxes, and we're gonna get choppers, and we're gonna start a biker gang of foxes.
And the foxes might be past my time unless you're talking about the worgans, which are more like werewolves than they are like foxes.
No, they're little they're tiny.
Okay, then that's
foxes.
Something new.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Volpera, apparently. Retox knows it.
Was that it? Yeah.
I would assume that sounds right, because, vulpine is from the Latin. It basically means fox-like.
I knew that sounded familiar. Okay, but that is all from myself, Chill.
Yeah.
What's up with you?
All right. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and see who's in the chat room. Well, first of all, Retox, Detox, and Sapphire are both here. Hey there. And then let's see. 01 Ella, Altul, Chili Bones is here, Krauslight, Drapsnat, Lizabeth, Kata, Kizadora, Meltza is here, Mr. Desith, let's see, Swordmaster, and XVH, ECC are all here. Hey, everyone. All right, so I caught the bug after the last show talking about it, and I've started a new unarmed character, so... This one, last time it was Shrek, and Shrek punched his way all the way through the 6.0 stuff, and now in 7.0 era, I've got Fezzik from Princess Bride, and we're having fun doing him. I got him up through Prelude of Shadow of Revan, so he's gotten pretty far, actually.
Oh, holy crap.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the rules are no help from companions, so companions have to be put on passive, no main hand weapon. I did some looking around, but I ended up doing the same spec, essentially mirror class as Shrek, which is Juggernaut. So he is he's actually doing that story as well. So he's on the. That way we also get to see the story a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of fun. I must say it feels a little. There's a few differences since the 6.0 era when I did it. Some of it's still the same. So like, you take off your weapon and most of your abilities go away.
Right.
Most of the same ones that I had before are still available, which is good because that's kind of why I chose it. But I did kind of look around to see if there were other options. There were technically a couple of other options, but nothing that really felt right for a punching character. Because unusually, like on sorcerers, some of your actual like lightning abilities, you actually don't need a main head weapon for, which was fun to find out, but it didn't really feel right to do for a punching character. So for a Juggernaut, though, you have to do your unarmed punching abilities, and then after that, it's all a few utilities, and that's it. So I can interrupt. I can choke, so I could do the stun, so the choke, which feels appropriate,
Right.
And I can force push, which feels like a big, sock in the gut, basically knocking him across the wall or whatever. And then there's a couple defensive abilities. The one that gives you temporary health, and then the one that gives you health back when you take damage, like 12 times. I think there's 12 stacks of it. And I finally got that one. Oh my God, that made such a big difference because that's such a powerful ability. It's so nice.
Did you talk about this last time we on the last episode of OotiniCast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we ended up talking a little bit about doing that before and getting through it. And yeah.
I completely forgot about it.
That's
and
fine.
I was streaming the other day, and it came up.
Right.
And I go, oh, Chill played a character where he just punched his way all the way through.
And I'm punching my way through it again.
Yeah, someone goes, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I think I'm going to do it. And I go, yeah, if you see him on, ask him. I'm sure he'd give you all the details about it.
Yep.
And then someone else goes, he's doing it again. And I forgot that you said it, and I just went, what the hell? Chill is like a glutton for punishment.
It was rough. It was funny because there's a couple. Usually, like most of granted it's different stories and stuff, but it didn't feel that different. It's still just tons of just punching, and until you get the defensive abilities, like I'm chugging health potions. I'm like using every cooldown in every fight. Like until you get some of those defensive abilities, especially like. Every fight you can die to. You can die to 4 normals. Like 4 normals can kill you because you have no AoE. You have no AoE. You have like 1 stun that's on a minute cooldown. And you do very little damage. Like you do some damage, otherwise this wouldn't work at all. But it's pretty light. It's pretty light damage. Like it takes a while to beat through someone just with the punching abilities and no help from companions. It's crazy. And I do allow myself to use Heroic Moment and either Unity or Sacrifice.
So
usually
you have your companion on
because I'm a companion out,
disabled?
so I can't. So those are available as abilities, but they aren't passive. They're not healing me, tanking any damage, or doing any damage. Well, technically, occasionally they do somehow draw aggro. I don't know how that works, but it usually doesn't last long because as soon as I do anything that draws their attention, especially healing myself, then they just turn on me.
Are you using that second win implant at all?
Can't at this point because it's
you're not level
it's level 80, and he is. I don't remember because I kind of got away from it because the other character I'll talk about here in a second that I made. And I've been focusing more on her, but I am committed to taking him all the way through now. But he's gotten up to Prelude of Shadow Revan, so he's probably like 60 or something like that. That's an 80 implant, so I won't be able to do that until 80. At that point, it'll be nice to have, but I can't do it right now. And there's not really a lot of other ones that, are really going to be great. There's a couple of generic, like, tacticals and 1 or 2 other generic implants that could work. But that one is going to be really helpful.
Because you get the health and you could distance yourself.
It's also a movement thing. Yeah, exactly. If you need it.
Best implant in the game.
Yeah, for solo stuff, absolutely. It's going to be nice. But really the enraged defense, the healing thing is so nice. So nice. The other one, the health one, because it's temporary health, you have to be very careful with it because the health goes away. and it won't kill.
Right.
It won't kill you. It won't kill you, but it'll take you to 1 health. Okay. No, it'll take you to 1 health.
1 health.
1 health. I've survived a lot of fights with 1 health now because of that, especially since I got it before in Rage Defense and I had to use it. So what you have to do is you have to either be very careful and use it if you know you can kill the last guy within 10 seconds. So, the next 6 globals or so, or whatever. 6 globals, basically, because I have very little alacrity. And you have to make sure there's no dot on you. If there's a dot on you, it can really screw you over. Yeah, exactly. One of the nice things also, though, it is a debuff remover. I never think of that, but it actually it takes away all the debuffs as it gives you the 30% health.
Really?
Yeah. So it can be really useful. Yeah, it can be really good for that. So if you have like a ton of really nasty dots on you, you pop it, and it's like not only temporary health, but it also removes the debuffs on you.
It removes multiple debuffs?
It'll remove anything on you that it's actually removable at the time. So in PvP, it's not so great because like most of the dot specs have protection against that, and it's only so in like operations because a lot of boss mechanics, they'll put a debuff on you that cannot be removed by this sort of thing. But for regular running around stuff, it's actually really handy. It's funny how you learn details about these abilities, because I forgot that had happened.
Only took
that
us
happened
10
too.
years, John.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta tell you, the Makeb fights were really something. Both of the big Makeb fights were really brutal. On the Empire side. Yeah, it turned out like I hardly noticed it really on the Republic side, or remembered it from, those were okay. Like there's, the one big fight at the end. And on the Empire side, there's the big Isotope 5 droid fight, like this whole thing with like all the lasers and the ads and the big circles that will knock you away and do a ton of damage to you.
Right.
I did fail it once, and then I managed to get it through on the second try. And I learned more about how that works as well. Like I learned so much, like, because what you do is there's those things on the side. There's two things on both sides that sort of like, but it turns out they kind of work differently than what I did. I always did them once and then just kind of left them alone. What they do is they bring up 2 turrets. And then if you go to the other side and click on the other side, then there's 2 turrets on that side that will then pop up. The turrets, however, can get destroyed, but you can then redo them later on if you get a chance. Because I was doing nothing but running around, I sometimes did those just to have a little extra damage on the boss. Because usually my companion's doing a lot of damage on the boss, but of course my companion's on passive was doing no damage on the boss. So it was like really nasty. And
that fight used to be harder too. They made it a lot more.
I think they might have done something to it, but you have to destroy. You have to also, for up above, you have to get 2 of the lasers to stop in order to get that mechanic where the boss becomes vulnerable again for a while. And so there's just there wasn't a lot of uptime on the boss, because I wasn't doing any damage to the boss. So I found that actually clicking on the side things and getting those extra turret damage things to get going was really, really handy. Nice. And it was really important not to get hit by those circles, especially since the fight, doing it this way, it took so long that the longer you do it, the more circles come. Like at first it's only 1 circle, and then it's like 2 circles, and then it's 3 circles, then it's 4 circles, and the same amount of time between them. So from the start of it, which means it's actually a narrower field of time that you have to do to get those things done. So it's like circle, 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 circle. I had a lot of circles after me after a while doing that fight, because it was taking me so long to beat him. But between heroic moment and the other abilities that I had, I was able to punch him to death. So that one was really nasty. The other one took a long time too. Yeah, the other one actually go after Taboro was really nasty too, because again, not doing much damage to him, and those stupid ads come and they basically give him, they actually heal him too, but they also like give him the extra energy to do more of his boss mechanics. And since I have no AoE, it was like really hard to get them down in time to prevent him from doing more boss mechanics. So he was throwing those circles all over and doing the big laser a couple times. And for the first time in like forever, I actually ran to the room behind him and clicked on the little thing behind him to sort of stop him from doing more stuff. And once you it takes forever, but eventually both sides go down, and you do both of those, and then he'll stop doing boss mechanics, and he sort of becomes more vulnerable.
That's the fight I got confused at, because the fight you're talking about right now, where the fuel rods and stuff.
Yeah,
that used to be a lot harder. They really nerfed that because you had to do the mechanics back in the day.
You definitely had to, and you don't have to anymore. But I did because I had to, because I was not doing very much damage, because it's punch, 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 and it's like 1,000 damage each time, and the guy has like 120,000 health or whatever he's got, and it's insane. But it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's still working. We're still making it through. Like, I can make it. Apparently, I can make it through the whole story with no main hand weapon. It'll be interesting to see, like, if any of the other fights feel different later on, and either because they've changed or because of doing it on the Empire side. And then we've also it does feel a little different also, the way that they have the gear changes, like when you get like ranked down to another level, remember they reconfigured how that works, like how your gear works. Like, it used to, more or less, if you were being ranked down, you essentially were given Apex level gear, essentially, as long as you had something in that slot. Like, essentially, you were geared out as long as you're being ranked down. That's not the case anymore, and it's making it a little tougher in some cases. I've had some real trouble with certain fights. There was one fight I had to just work around on Ilum. I didn't have the ranged defense yet, and I was not able to destroy this one very particular gold star. Not a special one for the end of a story or anything. I was actually able to beat the end of the Ilum fight, which was actually really nasty. The one where you have to. There's all the ads, and then you have to defeat the guy. But. No, the trouble was actually a gold star from before that, because it was a Jedi, and he just did crap tons of dot damage, and none of it was hard cast, so it just happened. So I had no way to interrupt him.
Oh right.
I could stun him, but that's once a minute. I could knock him back, but again, that's roughly once a minute, and it didn't really stop him from doing what he was going to do. As soon as he was done with the stunning, he just went right back to his dots. So fortunately, though, he was a pat, so I could avoid. I beat that area by avoiding his fight. Essentially, I could not defeat him normally. I think I could if I went back now that I have enraged defense. I could definitely beat him, because I could just use enraged defense to just essentially just cheese the fight.
Go get him. Payback's her bitch. She'll get him.
Yeah, enraged defense is crazy. Like. In normal situations, like against bosses who can like one-shot you and stuff like that, and in PvP, it's like they'll definitely out damage it, but in normal situations, it's practically your whole health bar back. It's basically a free health bar. It's really crazy. So anyway, that's been really fun. But I did get on to another character, and I've been just grinding her out really, really, really hard. I've actually gotten her all the way to the same spot at like almost. she's right at the end of McKeb. She's almost about to do Prelude to Shadow of Revan. So she's basically at the same place that Fezzik got. And I was working Fezzik pretty hard too. And so she's a counterpart for Loki, because I was working on Loki. I was doing like both the backstab spec and also the hatred, the dot spec. And I was thinking, if since I'm kind of enjoying this as a PvP thing, why don't we make one on the other side? So she's a consular, but she's also an assassin. I made her a Nautolan, so she's Chilthulu, sort of going for the Nautolan underwater sort of whole thing, which is really fun. And and she's really fun, and just I'm actually leveling her as hatred, and which I don't think I've done that in a good long time. And it's actually turning out to be a really interesting spec, and I'm really liking it. One of the things that's actually really fun is at level 23, you can get something that when you get kills, it'll reset your or it'll give you a stack of your death field, and also your death field gets 2 stacks anyway. And it's really good in situations where there's lots of weak enemies, because like you're just getting all these resets, and every time you've got enough energy to cast it, you're just doing tons of damage. Boo, boo, boo. And you can just, in fact, what I can later on, there's also something called malevolence, I think. Every time you kill someone, it like kind of resets everything except death field. So you're getting a lot of things back when you kill something. You're getting a stack of death field, and you're resetting all your melee abilities plus your the thing that replaces shock. I can't remember what that one gets called. And so when you're killing these little guys with the death fields, you're getting all these resets. You know, and then it's just you're just able to do weak stuff like really, really fast. It feels really good. And that's actually been really
sounds fun.
Yeah, that's been a ton of fun. And so there's a couple of reasons. So part of it is like to do the PvP thing. So like to have a PvP Republic character in case I want to do, you know, Republic PvP. Maybe someone wants to join me or whatever, you know. I just like to have mirror classes anyway. And then also I realized I haven't done the Saboteur yet on the as a Republic, anti-Republic Saboteur, like a Republic character who helps the Empire. I've done Saboteur twice, but it's always been Empire characters saboteuring to help the Republic. I've not seen the other way around. So I wanted to do a dark side character and dark all the way up. So
nice.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing a Medusa, which is, you know, also would have worked for a Nautilin.
That's
which is
good,
yeah, which is actually right. I was looking at like the green one, you know, and it's like, and that's actually why Cthulhu is female, is because she started as a Medusa character. But then, you know, once I kind of like, and then I changed the skin color, and I really like the sort of like the aqua blue, and I was like, you know, and then I just kind of got the idea, and then I just kind of ran with it. And also I realized also that I hadn't made a Nautilin in a long time, because I do so many cosplay characters, and there's not a ton that really fit the Nautilin mold. In fact, I had to stretch really, really hard to get Medusa and Cthulhu. I'll probably use Medusa at some point too, but the darks, the other time I made one was a long time ago, and I made a dark side one to see how the dark side would look. But at that point, they hadn't implemented it yet. Like it took, I don't know if you remember, but when they did Nautilins, it took maybe half a year, something like that, like multiple months before dark side on the Nautilin actually was visible. Yeah, exactly. So so this time I get to see it though this time. So I've actually taken little screenshots, and we finally hit dark side 5. It's actually not as extreme as I thought it would be.
Is it lighter or darker skin?
It's lighter skin, but not by as much as I would have thought. And also there's not really any veining anywhere except around the eyes and mouth. Like I thought there might be veining maybe on the tentacles. I thought there might be veining on like the shoulders and stuff, like there is actually on like humans. Like humans actually get some veining, pretty extreme veining, like even on their necks and stuff like that. And it doesn't really happen for the Nautilins. It's just on the face. And the lightening of the skin is a little less extreme than I would have thought. Also, the eyes go from, like, she has black eyes originally, and then as soon as you hit dark 1, they turn to like gray, and dark 2 is still gray, and then I think dark 3 is when they turn sort of like reddish gray, but they never get any redder than that. They're like reddish gray, and that's as red as it gets. I would have thought they would have gone a little more extreme, both in the eyes. The veining, all 3 of those actually are a little less extreme than I would have thought, because I did finally get to dark 5, and it's about where I would have considered like dark 3 or 4 for other races, for other species. So yeah.
Right.
Anyway, that's
I know that dark 5 on Twi'leks and what is it? Chiss.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a stark difference.
Actually, one of my favorite things was because one of my first characters was a Mary Allen. This was way back in the day, and then I decided to make a Mary Allen. This is before I was also cosplaying as well. So this is just a generic, you know, RP type character. I decided to treat her like a sort of like a Wizard of Oz kind of witch. So green character took her to the Empire side, which is really rare. There's very few Mary Allens on the Republic side, because you can only make them as a Republic character until you take one all the way through and unlock it.
Right.
And do that unlock, and then you can of course make them anywhere. But yeah, and she really paled out. It was she looked. Mary Ellen 5 is really wonderfully disgusting.
That's cool.
Like really looks diseased and unhealthy. Like it really looks vile. It's wonderful. It really is a wonderful look on a Mary Ellen.
That's cool.
I highly recommend it, actually, even to this day, even though I haven't done that for ages and ages.
I haven't made a Mary Ellen in a while. Mary Ellen was my first ever. Mary Ellen Sage.
That's cool.
Was my first character ever.
Yep. All right, so we should move on. Wow, we really stretched our week out quite a bit today. Let's get to the tip of the week. We do have one from Roja Hud. He said, my tip's not the greatest, but it's fun. First, put your favorite pet in your quick bar, and second, put your summon random pet in your quick bar. Summon your favorite pet, and then summon your favorite random pet, and boom, 2 pets. I checked this out. It actually works. Like, you think like, oh, you're allowed to have 1 ground pet and 1 air pet. That's sort of like how it normally works. And you can still do that. I didn't actually try with the ground, air, and then this thing. But no, I brought out a pet, and then I hit random pet, and instead of replacing it, it just brought out a second pet. It works. It's
like
cool.
2 ground pets?
2 ground pets. They were both little ground pets. Yeah.
Boy.
This was actually on the Cthulhu character, and she only has like 3 pets, and they're all ground pets. So that was pretty cool.
And you can manipulate that by favoriting the pets in your randomization.
Is there a favorite on the randomizer? Because I looked, and I
think there is.
There is for the mounts, but I don't think there is for the pets.
There's not for the pets?
No, I think what you do for the pets is you just be very selective about what you actually unlock, because you'll get them in your mail, and they'll be unlocked in your accounts, for if you've unlocked it account wide, blah blah blah. But if you don't actually go in and tell that for that character to unlock it, it just won't show up on that list. So I would just be very careful and just make a very groomed pet list, where it's like very selective.
You got to do that from the start.
Yeah.
You gotta know what you're doing.
Yep. So anyway, Roja Head says, I like to pretend my Jedi has a droid cult and go everywhere with T7 as a companion, and then M4, 1S, and RE1.
Nice.
And
That's
thank
great.
you and he also thanks us for putting the work into the cast and for the community we've helped build. So we appreciate that, Roja. And I never actually already sent him the pet code and the other code. So
very nice.
Very good. Yeah, if you would like to win a Tonfon M8 3R droid or M2B9 droid code and a 450cc code, all courtesy of Bioware, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. All right, and a little quick run by the Mind Trap. So Galactic Season 3 and PvP Season 1 ended, and they did end like 1 week ago, right when we were setting up the Mind Trap poll. How much will that affect your play time or play style in SWTOR? And the options were a lot, somewhat, a little, or hardly at all, or none. And thank you everyone for the retweets. And this also went out on Mastodon, and just a few votes there, but roughly the same percentages. So I didn't actually include the numbers here. Roughly the same sort of results. So it makes sense. And so, hardly at all or none got 41.6% of the vote. But somewhat, the second highest, was second with 33.8% of the vote. A lot was 14.3% of the vote, and a little was 10.4% of the vote. So if you kind of split it up between the 2 heavy and the 2 light options, a lot and somewhat, that's almost 50% of the vote, and a little or hardly at all or none were just over 50% of the vote. So basically, like for a fair number, it doesn't really affect their play, about half, but for the other half, it definitely affects it, either somewhat or a lot. I actually said somewhat, not because I'm going to play necessarily less, but for me, it changes what I play, and also like how much time I'm spending doing certain things. For example, I'm still logging into all 5 servers that I have characters on, just because I like getting the daily login stuff.
Right.
And yeah, and for me, that's actually, worthwhile, and it doesn't take that long. Now that once you get it set up, it's just a matter of a minute or two at most. But I'm obviously spending less time doing it, and I'm not really trying to get like conquest done or 25,000 conquest points, done on any particular character on any particular day. So
Right.
yeah. And how about you, Kitty? What was your vote?
I said somewhat
Okay.
because not necessarily my play. I kind of I went more playtime because even though I don't really go out of my way to do galactic seasons, mostly for science, I was trying to go, okay, I'm not going to divert from my normal gameplay except for a little bit with galactic seasons. And I've done that twice now, and I've completed it way before
Right.
the end of the season.
Yeah.
And because I like it to be there.
Right.
I think it's a fun little addition to have. So I said somewhat because it affects my playtime. I get excited about it being there.
Right.
Not necessarily going, and it's diverting my gameplay itself, but
were you even
I
like,
really like it.
were you even looking at like the weeklies to see like which ones you were going to go for that week, or were you just was it just like, oh no, I'm just going to get my two points for logging in every day, my extra points for logging in for the whole week, and I'll just automatically get the conquest one, and then I mean, were you actually like pulling out Faye to to get 100 defeats with her and stuff like that? Okay, so you had a little, you weren't necessarily doing different things, but you were occasionally looking at like what the weeklies were and kind of.
I would check them out and be like, oh, okay, I'll have Faye on, or but I did make sure to get maxed out in the reputation. That was something that I made a point of doing every week. But otherwise, I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna play.
Nice.
And I'd look at it, and every once in a while, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Make sure I get this one, blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it's super fun.
Okay. All right. Yep. And some of the responses were sort of along those lines. I'll just hit one that as of now, I'm taking a break from PvP since trying to do 24 arenas for the weekly was just burning me out. Warzone and Hutball was fun and could knock out that weekly in a few hours at peak time. The arena weekly would take me all weekend, and that's something I hope changes in PvP season 2. Yeah. So that was Alex Gesslin.
I've heard from other people too that it's a grind.
I found that too. Yeah, I just basically stopped doing arenas. Essentially, I just worked towards the 3 Warzone ones. Because you can even if you have some bad games, eventually you'll get the wins, and eventually you'll get the ones where you have to have 8 medals, and we know that they're changing how that's working slowly too. So yeah. Anyway, all right, we need to move on. So let's do the Cantina talk. This is where there's a new occasional segment where we pick out a voice actor from the literally hundreds who have voiced for SWTOR over the years. We've done quite a few of them now, so I'm not gonna. I used to like list out which ones we've done, but we've done enough now that I don't really want to list them all out anymore. There's quite a few of them. So this time it is Jim Cummings, and Jim Cummings is a little like last episode's one, Corey Burton, which he has a long history with Disney. Apparently there's something about the way that Disney works where like if you sort of get into their little pool, you just tend to work for them a lot. And he has worked for them a lot. But he's also done other stuff too. Specifically, Jim Cummings has been the voice of Winnie the Pooh since the 1980s. So there was I can't remember the other actor's name. He was in the original one from like the 60s and the 70s. Right. And he did a great job. But at some point in like the mid 80s, Jim Cummings took over as Winnie the Pooh, and he's done it ever since. Like, if you've ever heard Winnie the Pooh since Reagan was president, you've heard Jim Cummings' voice. He's also, and as he's a twofer because he does hit Tigger too, so he's also Tigger. And his Pooh voice was so iconic that they really couldn't recast it. So when they did the live version movie with Ewan McGregor, Christopher Robin, a few years back.
Right.
He was still Winnie the Pooh, and so he became the first ever actor to reprise a role for one of the live action remakes of a Disney movie. So, yeah.
I'm looking at his IMDb right now. It's crazy.
Yes, and if you look through it, like tons of other Disney stuff as well, like little bits here and there. Nothing, we don't go through every last bit on the IMDb, but it's fun to hit the highlights. So obviously, Pooh and Tigger, awesome. He also one of the fun thing was Corey Burton, who was also in Aladdin. Remember, he was the only your fleas will mourn you. He was that guy. Well, Jim Cummings had a couple of roles in Aladdin as well. He was Razul the guard, the one who shouts, "You idiots, we've all got swords," that guy. And he's also Farouk, the stall-owning merchant who threatens to cut off Jasmine's hand when she sort of accidentally steals an apple. In The Lion King, Jim Cummings is both Ed the hyena, and he's also credited as Scar, which seems weird because, of course, Jeremy Irons was famously Scar. Yet in The Lion King, not in the sequels or the TV shows or anything like that, in The Lion King, Jim Cummings was also Scar because Jeremy Irons had some vocal difficulties. He wasn't able to finish all of his role, and Jim Cummings took over. So that's amazing because I had no idea that there was actually two different actors doing the same role in that movie. And he actually did it so well that he actually did Scar in like some of the little sequels and video games and TV movies and stuff like that they've done since then.
The line that I remember most from him is from Baldur's Gate. He played a character called Minsk, and he had a little gerbil as a pet, and he'd go, "Go for the eyes, boo."
That's awesome.
It's in my head, and Kitty and I do it back and forth to each other sometimes.
Oh, that's great.
Go for the eyes, boo.
He was in the animated show for The Tick, which has also come up a couple of other times. I happen to love the original animated The Tick. I think it's the best version of The Tick.
So good.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of episodes. The ones that I remember are the first two. He was Mr. Mental, which is like one of the early villains, who's sort of like a hypnotist, and he kind of hypnotizes the Tick. He was also Barry the Tick, which was like this jerk named Barry who calls himself the Tick. And so far removed from Winnie the Pooh, if you've ever seen that episode, because he's absolutely unhinged. And he's also Captain Decency, which I love. So yeah, so he's in The Tick. If you've never seen the animated The Tick, please go watch it. Especially the first couple seasons are just brilliant. Just really, really brilliant. He was also the voice of Smokey the Bear from 1993 to 2006. So over a decade, he was Smokey the Bear. And if you're a Star Wars fan, of which I'm sure everyone here is, in Rebels and Clone Wars, he plays Hondo Naka. So he's Hondo, everyone's favorite scumbag. So yeah, he's not only Winnie the Pooh, he plays Hondo, which is awesome. I think that's so cool. And he's also in the original SWTOR. Now, he hasn't appeared in any of the sequels from what I've seen, so he's not in like Legacy of the Sith or Onslaught or whatever. But he had a bunch of voices in the original SWTOR. And, so they basically they were happy to have him along, and so they just chucked him a bunch of voices for sure. Because I look through, and a lot of these are like sort of, just like characters who give you missions and then you come back and they say good job. It's like nothing too fancy. Zale Barrows is actually one of the ones at the end. This I actually remember. He's sort of the scumbag one who is kind of against you when you're trying to help out Eric Jorgen in Eric Jorgen's class or companion stories. Zale Barrows is sort of that scumbag SIS officer, so that's pretty cool. He's also and the other one that I really do remember very well is Master Oteg. He is the Yoda species Jedi master whom you meet before a couple of the flashpoints. Yeah. And he has a very Yoda-like voice. I don't think he does the reverse grammar thing, but he has the voice that sounds like this.
You have to go to the planet's surface.
Yes, exactly. Must help us. All that sort of thing. And that's Jim Cummings as well. So yes, so thank you to Jim Cummings for doing wonderful voices in SWTOR, as well as, of course, Winnie the Pooh and everything else, and Hondo.
That's a good one, Phil.
Yeah, isn't that amazing that he's Hondo?
Yeah. Wow.
So we've got Hondo in here. We've got got some of the other.
Over the eyes, boom.
Yeah. I could actually see Hondo saying that too.
Yeah. Oh, Kenobi.
Yeah, that's so fun. Anyway, so yeah, if you look at his IMDb, it's actually fun to read because it's been around so long, and it's just a lot of. And there's stuff that I wouldn't have picked out that I guarantee you, if you've been interested in animation at all over the last 40 years, stuff that I maybe didn't pick out that you would find very interesting. Mm-hmm. It's just that sort of thing. Like he had little roles and all kinds of other stuff too. Anyway, let's get on to the Holo feed. Not a ton of news recently. I think they're sort of sitting on the 7.2.1 stuff in the 64-bit. We're still waiting on that. Jackie Code did a pretty good post here. Wanted to confirm with all of you what will be coming with the next season of PvP, though I'll save the reveal of the rewards for a future blog post. Shabir covered a lot of what was happening with the medals when PTS went live on February 9th. A slight adjustment has been made since then, so we wanted to establish what players will be experiencing beginning in PvP Season 2. Defender points per tick have been increased to 700 points per tick, up from 500 points per tick. Turret control zones have been increased. When within the control zones of a turret controlled by a player's team, they will receive 500 defender points when defeating a player. So that's pretty cool. So it's not just time based now. There's also some fighting points, which is pretty nice. When within the control zones of a turret controlled by the opposing team, players will receive 500 attacker points for every player they defeat. And that's also kind of nice. In fact, it's kind of nicer because I often find, depending on how the thing is going on, sometimes it's kind of easy to get defender points because it's just based on sticking around near a controlled turret. Getting attacker points is really difficult, actually, sometimes. So. And currently, the above changes are only applied to the Alderaan Warzone map. But as Shabir wrote previously, we are working on rolling out the changes to other maps in batches over time. So hopefully this will help with the whole issue where it's really difficult to get 8 medals depending on what's going on in thing. Even wins, it's sometimes difficult to get 8 medals. So I'm really thinking that these sort of changes are going to help a lot. One change that is applied to all maps, beginning with 7.2.1, is that the amount of medals earned for full credit has been adjusted to players only needing to obtain 7 medals instead of 8. Okay, it will also help because I can't tell you how many times I've won with 7 medals.
Yeah,
it's happened a lot in PvP Season 1. Now Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did mostly leveling PvP, so, they've never really talked about how, if they're going to adjust, leveling versus endgame, but we'll see. Also, one thing I did notice is the amount of endgame PvP I did, which was, I did a fair bit. It was mostly leveling PvP, but I did do some endgame PvP. Endgame PvP pops a lot more, for sure. Like, you can do a lot more if you're just doing endgame PvP. Leveling Lobby doesn't pop very much at all, at least right now. But High B pops a fair bit, but you're still going to wait a little bit. But I found that, like, if I was doing 80, it was popping a lot faster. So anyway, what were you going to say, though, Kitty?
I kind of found that out when we were PvPing together a while back.
Yeah. Yep.
I forgot.
I'm sorry. I totally distracted you. Sorry about that.
No, not at all.
All right. Well, there's more from Jackie, so we'll go with that. Additionally, players who tested out PvP matches while the PTS was open also saw updates made to the matchmaking process. As stated in the initial announcements for the 7.2.1 PTS, matchmaking has been adjusted to make it more likely that large groups are matched up against each other. I appreciate everyone who submitted feedback, whether in this thread, messages, or other social channels. And I think that's going to be really nice because really nothing feels worse than like if you're clearly with a group, of just randos and they clearly are on comms, they will kick your ass, especially if it's on Hutball or something like that. It's going to be a real fast loss. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. So it'll be really nice. Hopefully, obviously matchmaking is a thing where, various things are balanced against each other. And, if the queue gets too long, I'm sure you will eventually go against a group if they're queued up, if the queue is getting too long. But hopefully this will help. Let's see. Based on comments we've read since the PTS Open, there needs to be some clarification on what the matchmaking changes mean in practice and the impact it has on player experience. With that in mind, let's see. Okay, this is sort of a restate of what she just said. There'll be a much higher priority during matchmaking to pair pre-mades against each other when possible. There are two considerations we'll be monitoring very closely. This will likely increase the queue times for all players as we are enforcing harder matchmaking rules up front to bop a match. That's understandable. For me, that's actually fine, but obviously, the longer it is, the more people get frustrated or they wander off, like they go hit a bathroom break because it's been like 20 minutes or even 5 minutes sometimes. Yeah, and then you come back to a dead screen where it's like, oh, we just missed it. 2, with this in mind, as time passes with a player in a queue, there becomes a delta where we will prioritize popping a match over everything else, meaning you can still be paired with a pre-made, but it will take a longer duration of time to pass in that queue for that to happen. A reminder that there's a careful balance we have to consider between quality of matches and queue time for players. Catering to this balance is also why we've moved away from having solo versus group queues. As stated, we'll be reviewing and monitoring data and feedback as the secret season progresses, and if it's found that the matchmaking system is causing excessive queue times, we will explore other options to improve the overall experience for players. After PvP Season 2 begins, the team will be keeping a close eye on queue pops, feedback, and that will determine what changes can be made for PvP Season 3, if any. In other words, it's a big process. And then she ends up with, we'll be communicating more about Game Update 7.2.1 and PvP Season 2 in the coming weeks.
Cool.
Yep. Let's see. And then adding the following change that will be live with 7.2.1. The requirements for the Arena Advocator and Warzone Warrior achievements have been reduced from 25 weekly completions to 12. So,
that's awesome.
Which
I
is
heard
good.
A lot of people just being like we were just saying it.
It even happened with the Mind Trap. It's like 25 going for 25 is a lot. So 12 a lot easier.
Yeah, I was listening to SWTOR Escape podcast with Max and Zima today at work, and they had a really great discussion about this. So if anybody's interested, check that out.
Excellent. All right. There are a couple other little bits of notes. First of all, Jackie was sort of not really appearing on the forum. Someone expressed some concern that, was everything okay? And she wrote back, first of all, appreciate my concern for my well-being. There were some hardships that happened in my personal life, but things are calming down and getting better. Work-wise, a lot has been happening. I'm not sure what BTS stands for in this case. Do you, Kitty? It's probably...
You don't want to know what I'm thinking.
I'm sure it's internet speak, but I'm just not sure what it means. So it has taken up a lot of my time. Can't talk about everything just yet, but doing lots of prep work and strategy planning for things to come. I'm looking forward to sharing the details when I can. Oh, just behind the scenes. Thank you. I knew it was something relatively straightforward, but I just couldn't think of what it would be. Thank you, Immortalized and Sapphire. Let's see. So glad to hear that she's doing a little, that her, personal life has gotten a little better, and that sounds good.
Jackie's awesome.
Yeah, she really is. Also, the team added a known bug. Completing heroic Possessed Hunter mission is not completing the Dromenkoss Heroic Mission's conquest objective. So it doesn't look like it affects like whether you're going to complete the daily, but apparently it does affect like whether you're going to complete the conquest objective, which can mess people up, especially if they are playing specifically to get conquest on a particular
and that's
character.
A nice chunk of conquest there.
Yes,
I think it's like 20K or something, 20 to 25K.
Yeah, adds up quite a bit. So again, that's the Dromenkoss one, and it's Possessed Hunter is the name of the mission. So that one apparently it doesn't say here whether that always happens or if it's just sometimes for some people, but in any case, it is at least occasionally not completing the Dromenkoss Heroic Mission's conquest objective.
I can say that I'm almost positive it's occasional, because I remember specifically doing the Droman Cost missions in order to complete that conquest task last week, and it worked on my character.
Good. Okay. Excellent.
So must be some kind of weird bug or something.
Yeah. And was there anything else, Kitty?
There's one more thing, Jim.
I think I see it in those, but you go ahead and do this one.
This weekend, this Saturday, we'll be doing another Loken event on Saturday, the 25th.
Ah,
and this
fun.
is going to be for Kitty Treats' birthday.
Aw.
And with a little St. Patty's Day theme, if you want.
Okay.
And
try to come up with a green outfit.
Yeah, it'll include all the normal shenanigans. This one might be a little bit more laid back, but you know, we're just gonna run around and be dorks. So if that sounds fun.
What do you know when that will be exactly on the 25th?
We usually start around 11:30 or noon.
Okay.
We'll make a flyer for it and pop it out into social media, so everybody gets the time.
Great, yeah. So that will be before the next show. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it on Kitty's social media, and that'll be fun. I'm sure. I'll try to make that for sure, because that was a lot of fun last time. Are we doing probably? I'm sure it'll include a walk of some sort.
Oh, the strolling of the Lokens will happen.
Okay, excellent. Nice.
And I'll have green dyes and stuff if anybody needs any for cosplay stuff.
Sounds good. All right, Kitty. Is there anything else then?
That'll be it.
Okay, then that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Houdini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our
Ootini Rage.
Was that a Hondo version?
It was, and then my throat started hurting.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to do today.
Yeah.
It's been a long day, chill.
On the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast, or Mastodon @OotiniCast@Mastodon.world. You can find contact details on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, by streaming at twitch.tv/OotiniCast. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room.
Thank you, chat room. We'll see you next time.
Woo! All right, Kitty, and if you have someone you'd like me to raid, let me know.
Yeah, let me look.
Okay. Got to get over to the creator dashboard. And then the manage stream.
Let's see here. CamryCon's on.
Okay. Looks, yeah. All right.
Oh wait, we got him last time. Do you want to?
Did we? Okay. You want to do someone else?
Yeah, let's get Smokey.
All right, let's go raid
13,
Smokey.
13.
Let's see. Be right back. Paused. I wonder if they're still paused. It's showing an ad now. So anyway, I'll just start the raid and we'll just take a chance. Thank you for coming, everyone. And yeah, have a good time. Well, I'm looking forward to the next. So it's a week from Saturday for the Loken event. And I'll try to come up with a green outfit. And here we go.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Let me go here. I'm going to stop the stream. Stops the recording.